hi, we're back. Fiber Fridays. Oh, how exciting. Okay, so hopefully you have gone ahead and got your 6 inches of knit stitches. You have 3 inches that are nothing but the ribbing stitch, and then we started knitting around in our last tutorial, and we have knit 6 inches. You should have 6 inches from here to here, or 9 inches total from the bottom to the top. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to start decreasing so that we can make our little cap that goes up like this. And as you can see, all of my decreases are right in a line, and they kind of make a nice little pattern. It goes the whole way around like that. So in order to do that, this is kind of our pattern, and I will leave this here. We keep going until we only have, oh, I can't remember. Go down 2, knit 2 together. I think we might have 4 stitches, and then I will show you how we go ahead. The next time I'll show you how we go ahead and get rid of those. But what we are going to do is, and if you need to, go ahead and put some markers. Usually I don't need to do that, but if you need to, go ahead, feel free to. Now I want to go ahead and knit to this, so I'm going to go ahead and knit this last side as because that was my beginning stitch, and I want to go ahead and start decreasing on my beginning stitch also, which just makes it a little bit more mathematically cool for me. You could start on this side, but that was where we began having our tail on. I'm right-handed, so that was, my tail was on my right hand. If you are left-handed, your tail will be on the left-hand side. And so I don't know what that was. Something showed up on my screen. Probably wanting to upgrade something. I'll check it later. But anyway, so once you are at the beginning of your knitting with your tail on the right hand side, I'm sorry I didn't notice that sooner. So there we go. My tail is on my right hand side, and I'm going to start knitting on my right hand side. So basically what you're going to do is, if we take that first row, we're going to knit 7, and then we're going to knit 2 together. So let me show you how we do that. We go ahead and knit 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now it says to knit 2 together, and in order to knit 2 together, you don't knit this one by itself, but you're going to go ahead into the second stitch from the end, and you're going to knit through both of those stitches. Now there are different ways to knit 2 together, but for what we're doing right now, we're going to do it this way. Okay, so that's just one set of that. We're going to do 8 sets of that. So let's go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and again we're going to go to the second stitch, put our needle through that and through the first stitch, and then knit those 2 together. And then we're going to do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go to the second stitch on your needle, put your needle through both stitches, and knit 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then knit 2 stitches together. Because I cast on 72 stitches, when I first started knitting, I made sure that I had 36 on each side. So that means I'm going to decrease 4 times on this side and 4 times on the other side. So if you have 36 stitches, if not, the easiest way to do that is when if you count these, then just when you're knitting, whatever's left over, pull to the other side here. It's not a big deal. And if you're off, just keep your count going. You'll be okay. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're going to go to the second stitch on our needle, put our needle through both of those. If you have to loosen them up a little bit, that's okay too. And then we're going to knit those two together. Oops, I split a stitch. If you split a stitch, you can see that doesn't belong there. I just take my needle and I pull it over. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Skip the first one, go to the second one, put your needle through both of those stitches, and then knit them as if they're one stitch. Do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we're going to knit two of those together. We knit them as if they're one stitch. And I cut that one again. There we go. Ooh, okay, this is a really good lesson. I've dropped a stitch. Now I'm going to pull these stitches back so that I don't lose them, but the easiest way to fix that, see I have 2 stitches dropped. So the easiest way to do that is to pick up my first dropped stitch, take this and knit over it. And then go ahead and do the same thing. Pick up your thread on your knitting needle, take your other knitting needle and just pull it over. That was easy. So how many do we have? Doobie. Let's just go back there. That one was knit together. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're going to knit those last 2 together. Okay, we're going to turn it now. This is why I keep this on I start with this on my right hand side. Once I get here, then I know that I'm going to do row 2, which is just knit through all of those. Just completely knit through them. And I don't even have to count, just have to keep knitting. So you should have 4 stitches less. When you get to this point. There should be 32 stitches on both sides. You can count them. Counting is it's kind of a meditation for me. When I get knitting and I'm just, maybe stressed out about something, if I'm just doing plain knit stitches, sometimes I'll just start counting 1, 2, 3, and it's very meditative. The other thing, which was really a wonderful thing to find out, is knitting is very good for people who are having depression, because the repetitive action of the knit stitch, purl stitch, it helps to calm the mind. It helps to get the mind a little bit more focused. And so people who are having depression, this is one of the neatest crafts. Anything repetitive. Crochet would probably work too, but I saw the study where they did knitting, and knitting actually helped people who were having high unmanageable stress. It helped to rewire their brain, so to speak. Scientists have already done studies on that. So that was kind of neat. So if you're having a bad day at work, sit down for 10 minutes and knit a little bit, and that stress might just flow right out of you, and you'll be ready to focus on your family, cooking, whatever. I have been known when I go, now, okay, this is a lesson. This is twisted, so I'm going to knit through the back of that. And it's probably because of the way I pulled it. That was the one that I dropped before. When I go places like to doctor's offices and you don't know how long you're going to have to sit and wait and you get more and more nervous and your blood pressure goes up, I'll take my knitting with me, and it just kind of keeps me calm. Okay, now when you look at this, we have our cast on at the right hand side. So we're ready for row 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same thing, only this time we're only going to knit 6, and then we're going to knit 2 together. So I'm going to work with you on this row, and we'll see how well we're doing. We're only at 10, 11 minutes, and it will go faster as we get going. So let's do 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now again, skip the first one, go to the second one, but we do pick up that first one. We don't just let it drop or you'll have all these holes down your hat. So we put the 2 of them and knit them both together. And I don't know if you can see, both of my stitches are getting knit together. And then we're going to start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we are going to take 2 of these, knit through both of them, knit them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take 2 of them, put them on your needle, knit them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Knit them together. Now, if you don't have evens on each side, if you've already knit them 2 together, what you can do to get the same number on the other side is just pull these until they're on the other side of your needle. Now I have to go ahead and knit these together because that's my 7th stitch. Okay, and let's do it on the other side. I want to be able to show you the pretty, ooh, I pulled that one just a little too tight. I want to be able to show you the pretty pattern that this decrease does for you. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take 2 of them, put your needle through both, and knit them off. Oops, see, I split that one again. This yarn is not very good ply, but it's splitting. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Knit 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was talking to my friend Maddie, where she works, and we were talking about knitting and crocheting and how when we are counting and somebody's trying to talk to us, we'll start counting louder. I've told other people in classes, different classes, that that's what I do, just to let them know that I'm counting. If you wait till I'm finished counting, I'll get back and talk to you. Okay, and my husband's gotten to the point he knows if I'm counting and I start counting louder, he just waits. He's a very patient man. Okay, we're back at this. So we're going to just knit through. We're going to do row 4. We're going to knit through. Now, while I'm doing that, I want you to look at this because this is a lot of times how patterns are written. So if you look at row 1, I have a K7. The K tells me to knit, and it's telling me to knit 7 stitches. The semicolon is telling me that after I've knit 7 stitches, then K2TOG, and that's generally how it's written in a pattern, K2TOG is knit 2 together. And different patterns will tell you to do this to the end of your complete row, your round, whatever you're doing. K is just knit. So you're also not only learning to knit these stitches, you are learning to read a pattern as we go along. And I will throw little things in here for you to kind of chew on, think about. Because you're learning more skills than just knitting or purling. You're also learning how to read your patterns. So I have one side finished. I'm going to flip it, and I'm getting very close to the end of my skein. I will have to add another skein probably before we get finished with this. But I do want to go ahead and at least finish this row with you to show you how pretty your decreases are going to start looking. I had some more happy mail, although I haven't done a video for it. My husband bought me a couple things around Christmas. One was a Cricut maker, and so I am taking classes myself online to learn how to run my Cricut. And then the other one was a Rototrim, and the Rototrim is, if you watch some of my paper classes, I have been having the last few times I've cut chipboard with my guillotine, my Tim Holtz guillotine, I've just had a dickens of a time. It's ripped, it's shredded, it's just got nasty. So he went ahead and bought me a really nice Rototrim. And the Rototrim, as I use it, it self-sharpens. I may do a video on that to kind of show you girls. It's a little bit expensive, it's a little bit pricey, but it has a 5-year guarantee, and so for us it was just worth it. Okay, so we've knit through row 4. We're on row 5, and row 5 says to knit 5 and then knit 2 together and to knit around. So if you look at your piece, your line should be going at a diagonal up, and isn't that just pretty? I think that is so pretty. Now, I'm going to go ahead and let you finish. Once you get to knit 3, knit 2 together, I'll come back and we'll talk about how we go ahead and finish off the top. But for now, if you want to just put your mouse inside the middle of this video and hit your mouse, hit the right side of your mouse, it'll pause this, and then we can come back and we can finish. Okay, I'll be back in just a little bit with you. Okay, so as I'm doing my rows, I cross them off with a pencil. I can go back and erase the pencil. I've written the pattern in ink. So that way, if I have to go do something, I know where to come back to. After we've knit 3, knit 2 together, and knit, we are down to 32 stitches. This is the other thing that a lot of patterns will tell you. How many stitches you should have on your needle after you've done a round, and a lot of times they'll do it at the end of each row. I just do it when I knit because I'm not going to count each time I go down. I will count as I knit through. So once we turn over our pattern, and we're getting really close to the end, and I hope I have enough yarn to get me to the end for you. If not, I have another skein somewhere. So we're going to keep on this pattern basically until we have, I think 8 stitches, but let's go ahead. So we're going to knit 2 together the entire way around, just like we've been doing before. And if you're careful and don't pull the last knit 2 together on your needle, it's a little bit easier to go ahead and knit the next row. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So there I've knit 2, and I'm going to knit these 2 together. Now it's very easy to pull that just a little too tight, which means that every time you go around you'll have a hard time catching it. So I just kind of give myself a little bit of room there, and you can see they are getting a little tight on my needle, but I can still move them. So make sure to give yourself a little bit of room especially on that last one when you knit 2 together and you're getting ready to knit the first one on the next side, because it can get just a little bit tight. And basically we start with 7, knit 2 together, and we go the whole way down the numbers until we get to 1, knit 2 together, and then we start just knitting 2 together the whole way around. So that keeps taking, and you can see how cute that's getting. It's getting really, really pretty, and it's got a pattern to it, which is nice. So I've gone ahead and I've knit my 2 together, so I'm going to knit around, and I'm going to count because it's very good for our mental health. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 've enjoyed knitting this hat with you ladies and guys, if there are any guys. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, so we should have 24 stitches. The next one we should have 16, and then this one we should have 8. Now, once we get down to that, I will show you how we go ahead and pull our yarn through and just tie it in a knot. And then we can, oh, see, I did that just a little too tight. Okay, so I'm going to start knitting. That might kind of relieve some of my tension. So I'm going to do 1. I am really going to have a hard time. Let me work that. And if you work 1 stitch at a time rather than trying to put a whole bunch through there, that works too when you're stuck like that. Just try to move 1 stitch a little bit at a time. So we're going to do 1, 2 together. 1, 2 together. 1, 2 together. And I'm trying not to make these too tight because it is very easy to get them too tight. 1, 2 together. 1, 2 together. And especially on this last one, when you're doing a transition from the thinner cable to your knitting needles, then it can get a little dicey. And see, I'm just trying to move 1 at a time until they get up over that hump, and then they'll move easier. So we're going to knit 1, and I'm not pulling that very tight. 1, 2 together. 1, 2 together. People always ask me about tension. Tension is something that you'll learn as you practice knitting. It's really nothing that can be taught because everyone holds their yarn differently, everyone pulls their yarn differently, but it is something that you have to be aware of. When you're first learning to knit, it's just a really good idea to kind of be aware of your tension. And as you knit more and more and more, you will just, it will become natural to you. So these first few projects that we're making, I'm going to encourage you not to be disappointed if your tension is too tight or too loose, or just keep mindful. Mindfulness in knitting is very important. it really helps with tension as you keep aware of what you're doing. Okay, now this one we should have 16 stitches, and I didn't count, but I will count this side, which is 1, 2, 3, and that's split. So I'm going to fix that. It's a little bit futzy. I've taken it off and put it back over. There we go. 3, 4, 5, 6. I only have 7. I have no idea. Do I have 7? 2, 4. I have 8. 8. Okay. So we're back at the beginning, and we are getting ready. We're not going to knit any singles. We are going to knit 2 together the whole way through. So, and again, 1 at a time. There we go. 2 together. And this can be a little tricky. It can be a little bit tight. 2 together. 2 together. 2 together. And then on this side, and did I tell you about pushing your needle rather than pulling so that you don't pull the wrong one? I've done that before, pulled the wrong one. Okay, so we're going to do, oops, I split that yarn. Let me try that again. There we go. 2 together, 2 together. I split that one. As you get going, it does get a little bit harder to keep them from splitting. Just go slow. We're not in a race. We're okay. 2 together. Now, what we should have is 8 stitches, 4 on each side. Once you get to this point, we are not going to knit anymore. I am going to take my scissors and give myself, maybe about a foot of yarn. If you have a crochet hook, this is a good time to use a crochet hook, but I can also tell you that you can pseudo knit. If you have a crochet hook, you just pull the thread through these and tighten them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my knitting needle as if I'm knitting, pull it the whole way through, and then that one can come off. I'm going to do it again with the next one, pull it through the whole way, and then take that stitch off. Again, I will knit it, but I will pull my yarn through and then take that stitch off my needle. And again, like you're knitting, pull it through and then take the stitch off. And so then we're going to do it to the other side. And so it's half a knit, really. It's a crochet, but it's half a knit. So I do it as if I'm knitting. I pull my yarn through the entire way, and then I take that stitch off because I have a yarn catching it so that it won't unravel. And you just do them one at a time. For me, it's easier to do one at a time. Now, you'll want to pull that tight, and then you will want to probably find a crochet hook, or it's a little bit harder to use your needle and do this step, but there is a hole right up there at the top. If you bring your needle through that hole and wrap your yarn, and like I said, this is easier with a crochet hook, and then just pull it through, tighten it up, turn it to the inside. Now, the way I finish these, you don't have to make a knot, but you can use a crochet hook again. I will find a stitch, I will pull that thread, and this is tricky, through that stitch, and I split it. Let me try again. I use my knitting needle as if it were a crochet hook almost. Okay, I've pulled it through, and then I'm going to tug it, but I'm going to pull it through again through that hole. And then I'm going to tug these until they're pretty tight. And I've kind of made a knot. You can do that to 3, 4 in a row, or you can skip one. And I just kind of go down. And again, if it's easier for you to use a crochet hook, please use a crochet hook. There are no knitting pulleys. And I'm going to go ahead and knot this one. So I pulled through. I'm going to pull another one through there, and that makes a little knot. And then I'm going to crochet just several. It's almost like sewing them through here. Okay, and once you've gotten about 6, 7, 8 of these stitched down here, turn it, and there you have that cute little top of your hat. Oh, that is so cute. You can sew this in, crochet in all of your ends, and you have a little beanie hat. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this. Now, what I would like to tell you is, for our next lesson, get yourself some yarn, and I think this is a DK yarn. You can use DK, or you can use the heavier, bulkier, not bulky yarn, but like an Aran, Afghan kind of yarn. And you will need a cable needle. Cable needles are usually about this big, and they have a little loop in them. I don't like metal cable needles. The small, they're only about that big. They're very small, and they have a point on each end, and I don't have mine right now. I have no idea where it is. I'll have to find it before we start the cabling, but it has a little dip in it that holds your needle, your yarn. If you look on Amazon and just look for cable needles, you'll have a bunch come up. I don't like metal ones. They slip off too easily. I like the wooden ones. Brittany has a really nice cable needle set. They have 3 of them in a set. Brittany's a really nice set. Knit Picks will have a set. You'll need a cable needle, and you'll need your cable and your needles to do this. So we are going to learn how to do a cable hat, and it's fairly easy. You can see this is all knit cable, and then these little places are purled. Knit cable, purled. So be ready to make another hat next time, and hopefully we will be ready to do this, and you'll have all the materials you need, your material as well as your cable needle. If not, I'm going to go ahead and put my pattern up, my things up, and get you started. You can always come back to these. But I want to thank you for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. We have a nice little hat. Go ahead and finish in your ends. All of your ends will get finished in. And I'll see you next time. Ooh. Okay, you have a hat.